Chair of Michigan's for Citizens Voting. He's been doing a phenomenal job on this. Well,
Thank you very much, Jim. Boy, I am thrilled to be here today to kick off this petition drive for Michigan's citizen-only voting amendment. We are going to put it on the 2026 ballot and let the voters of Michigan decide whether non-citizens should vote in our elections or whether we should have only citizens. This measure does three basic things. First of all, it puts clearly in the Constitution that only U.S. citizens may vote. And some folks may poo-poo that, it already basically says that in the Constitution. Because Michigan's Constitution, like most, like California's, says that every U.S. citizen is an eligible voter. But we have seen in California that when San Francisco allowed non-citizens to vote, they took it to court. In San Francisco, the city officials said, well, wait a second, if you wanted only citizens, then they should have said that. And the California court agreed. So we have been, last November, we had 8 states on the ballot putting into their state constitutions only U.S. citizens may vote. They did that because they wanted to make certain. And we can do the same thing here in Michigan. There are now 14 states that have voted on citizen-only voting amendments. All 14 have passed them by overwhelming margins. This is not a close call. The second thing that this measure does is to mandate that the Secretary of State check the voter list. I mean, we're here because last November, non-citizens voted in Michigan. They were on the voter rolls, even though the Secretary of State said there were no non-citizens on the voting rolls and that the voting rolls were totally clean. But we now know that was not true. And so we have to do something about that. And so far, there's been no reaction from the Secretary of State's office. This measure requires that the Secretary of State check that voter list and determine whether people are citizens or not. And if they're not, as Senator Runstead pointed out, they will be removed from the list. Now, there's a very thoughtful process in this initiative as to how you check, and there are protections for people if they've lost their documentation or something else. We're going to have opposition whose hair is on fire from today all the way until Election Day 2026. But the reality is we want to make sure only citizens vote, and we can. It is possible to check the voter rolls. It is possible for people to determine that, yes, I am a citizen. And it is possible even if everything went, in a flood, you lost all your documentation, for that to then be checked and determined. So this is not going to disenfranchise people, except for Chinese nationals who shouldn't be voting in our elections anyway. Right? The third thing it does, which is as common sense as anything in politics today, is put voter ID in the Constitution. Years ago, there were ads on television in Michigan saying they were going to etch voter ID into the Constitution. The people of Michigan voted for that measure in 2022. It didn't etch voter ID into the Constitution. It etched the ability to never show voter ID. Yeah. The ability to just sign a statement and for your vote to go into the stack and be counted. You have to have ID to adopt a kid in Michigan. You had to have ID to get the COVID vaccine. But some people, we don't need voter ID to vote. Right. That most important action we're taking. So this puts voter ID truly into the Constitution and gives us common sense elections. As the Senator pointed out, 82% of Michiganders, when polled earlier this year supported this idea. And we are thrilled. I want to thank all of you for being here, but I want to thank you more for what we're about to do. I was joking with somebody that you know, this has been a lot of work to put ourselves in a position to do a lot of hard work. But let's do it, because Michigan needs the citizen-only voting amendment. And thank you for being here, and thanks for what we're about to do, which is to put this on the ballot for the people to decide. And let me introduce the treasurer of Americans for Citizen Voting Michigan, Kurt O'Keefe. And as he's coming up, I'll just say that when I first was talking to him, we were talking about a committee. He said, "I'll do anything but be treasurer."
Stealing my laptop. Yeah, the COVID, right. So we're going to let you die if you don't have an ID. But you can vote. The Department of Labor has guidelines for union elections which say you have to show you're qualified as a member of the union. And you have to show ID. So it's all over the place, everywhere, except where we really need it. The University of Michigan, my alma mater, I was looking at their website because they had the issue of the first Chinese student who turned himself in. This was not the system working. This is not sort of fell through the cracks. He registered to vote in one of the museums, and he voted the same day. Registered to vote, voted the same day. And then he came back. It looks like he went back to China. It looks like he found out that he couldn't vote. So he went back and asked for his ballot back, which can't be done because they don't track it by name. Once the paper ballot goes in, it can't be redeemed or changed. So exploring the website, it says vote, register to vote. You click through the pages. And Michigan and Michigan State, when I checked, did not even ask if you're a citizen. The Secretary of State website, Wayne State, the others, if you're a citizen, it says no, then it stops. They go on to say on the Michigan website, you can register to vote at your Michigan address, your dorm or apartment, or your permanent address. Then there's a click-down menu. How to decide where to vote. You click it down, it says, where do you want your vote to count? So that process actually solicits people who are not eligible. And now it's stuck with the FBI file, and I'd like to see these records. I'd like to find the attorney who represented him, because I think that's what happened. And again, Secretary of Defense says nobody, and then there's only one, then there's 15. There's never been a complete audit. There's so many problems with the way the Secretary of State is. So this is very tightly written. It covers everyone. The Secretary of State has the duty, has plenty of time. We would like her to start now, comparing to valid citizens list with this QVF, the Qualified Voter File, is what the Secretary of State has. Line that up, and our provision is, well, if your name isn't there, the Secretary of State has the duty, that's that office job, integrity protection, to send you a letter that says we couldn't find the proof of citizenship. You have 45 days to come up with it. You can't find it. It was in a flood. It's out of state. It was in whatever. And you don't have any money. You sign an affidavit. I don't have any money. And the state has to pay the cost of duplicating those records. This is not an overwhelming task. This is something that should always have been done. Again, the Michigan Constitution says a citizen may vote now. It does not say only a citizen. We have a Secretary of State that's been giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens. This has to stop.
Yeah.
This is not about the 2020 election or 2016 or 1960 or 1800 or these other contested elections. National Public Radio did a poll before the last election. Almost 6 in 10 voters overall were concerned or very concerned about voter fraud. So whether it's 15 or 1 or 100,000, we need to restore the integrity, the belief that we have, and should be able to have justifiably, that our elections are fairly run and only people actually eligible to vote. There's an actual real problem of the perception, and it flips around. You look, well, our candidate won, so I guess it was a fair election. We have to get rid of that. We need to do that as a bedrock of our democracy. So welcome for being citizens to participate. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for a good man to do nothing.
That's right.